Yeah, I mean, lots of friends and family are just shouting, "Here's to Alan!" like quite a lot.
Anyone tell you to
Um,
put your neck away?
so many people.
Welcome to the castle, and welcome to a CastleMania production. We're sitting down with James Wilkinson, who you might know better as Mekaneck from the Masters of the Universe film. James, welcome to the castle.
Ryan, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it was great to meet you in person down in LA at the premiere, and we did have a chance to chat a little bit, so it's good to kind of reconnect here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ryan, we had such a good chat in that crazy little PR day. For those who don't know, Ryan and I we met in LA the day after the world premiere, and there was this press junket that we all had. So everyone was there, all the actors were there, and Ryan managed to steal me away for a lovely conversation. And when you asked me to come onto this podcast, I jumped at it because your questions were so refreshing, like really well thought out, and I genuinely had such a lovely time chatting to you. So I'm really happy to do this.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I had a funny realization after the fact, and I appreciate that. It was a good conversation, and it's something we could have gotten recorded. And this is what I
I
realized after the
know.
fact. So we were like looking around at because they have all these little rooms that are set up for recording, right? And
Hmm.
we're going to those obvious ones that are meant for interviews. But they had that whole, and neither one of us realized this, but they had that whole like experience hallway that led to where Skeletor's bone throne is. And they
Yeah.
straight up had a camera and a crew in there, but it wasn't necessarily meant for interviews, but it would have been the perfect interview spot, right? We could
How
have just
cool would
been
that have
right there.
been? Yeah, I mean,
I
they even
thought,
had the sword of power and all of the toys. We could have had
yeah,
props, man. It could have been great.
I know. I thought about it later and I'm like, man, we should have just went right over. It was literally right behind us,
I
you know?
know, I know. I mean, like it's a hindsight, like.
Yeah.
But that was my first proper big PR junket. I've done much smaller scale before, but that was a whirlwind. I mean, I was out in LA for I think a total of 48 hours or something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, talk about,
Yeah.
jet lag and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a whirlwind, and everything just sort of happened so fast, right? One of the
Hmm.
things that was cool was the opportunity for us to just, despite it being kind of a fast-paced weekend, was to just slow down for a minute, and
Mm.
that's how I met you. And uh, so what was cool and not always the case was there's like this green room area for the press side. We're just hanging out, and it's where they're serving refreshments and things like that.
Oh yeah.
And I think I started talking to Johannes first, and then who plays Fisto, and
Mhm.
then John comes walking around the corner and it's Rayman, and now it's the three of us. And then Kojo comes out, who's, of course, Triclops. And before you know it, there's like this whole Masters group of us hanging out. And it was just fun to kind of meet everybody in that organic way.
Yeah, Ryan, that was a big hangout for us as well because all of the guys, we all keep in contact with each other. We're always messaging and, phone calls and stuff like that. But we all live in different parts of, the world, some of us. You have Hafthor and Johannes who live in Iceland. Kojo and I, we both live in London. John lives sort of like east of, all of that kind of like Oxford way. But we never get to see each other. So for us, it was just a massive reunion, and we're all kind of like giggling little schoolboys, just like trying not to get into too much mischief. I managed to see Sam the other day, which was really nice, just to have like a nice little catch up, a coffee. Sam who plays Trapjaw. I mean,
Yeah.
that was so good to see everybody. Yeah, yeah.
Did you pick up a Mekaneck drawing or anything like that when you saw Sam?
Do you know what? He's already given me one.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
We did he did his Mekaneck drawing was very vascular. He kind of had
Yeah.
it as like uh you know the neck was kind of like bolted onto the real neck, and there was veins popping out, and he was mewing or whatever you call it. It was, yeah, it was very funny.
That was something I didn't know about Sam until after the fact. Was his, he's an illustrator too,
Mhm.
and he's got a real skill for that. But yes, as you were saying, it was, like, we're there to watch the movie, right? And it didn't occur to me at the time that you guys probably hadn't even seen each other for a year.
Yeah,
So it was a bit of a reunion, like you're saying.
absolutely. I mean, with Kojo, John, and I, we all messaged each other, and we were like, "Are you guys, like, what's happening with the premiere? Are you coming out to LA?" And we're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you coming out? Amazing!" So we were like, to kind of like make it this experience that wasn't overwhelming and a positive one. We all kind of banded together, and we said, let's get an Airbnb together. So the day before the premiere, we all slept in the same house, and we all got ready together. There's a shot that John took of me and Kojo, and I'm doing up his his cuffs with links and stuff like that. And we're all getting ready together, being like, "Oh, you look sharp, man! Like, you're looking good, man." So that was a really kind of like cathartic experience, knowing that I had my boys with me to kind of like see me through this what could be very kind of like intimidating, overwhelming experience. So yeah, yeah, massive props to those guys for seeing it through with me.
Yeah, and that was fun too, I think, for you guys. I noticed like you guys were all heading, I think, to the airport after the junket, directly
Mhm.
heading home, and they were trying to arrange, transportation for, and you guys are like, what are you talking about? We're jumping in the same vehicle.
Yeah,
Cancel these other two, and throw everybody off there. But it's just like you're saying. I mean, you guys have become friends, and why are we all going separate?
yeah,
One
yeah,
thing,
definitely.
when I was talking to Johannes, and he brought his son out with him, and what a cool experience for him to be able to kind of like be
Yeah,
able to see, like, California and the whole Hollywood experience, right?
yeah.
And they were asking me, I think they were talking about going to Venice Beach possibly, and I was like,
Mhm.
I should probably go to Hermosa or Manhattan Beach. A little bit, that would be my recommendation. I think they did. Did you guys get to do any like touristy stuff while you were down there, or was it just all business?
The first thing we did, um, Tyler, who is one of my agents, he pulled up at the airport with a rented red Ford Mustang, and we did the whole like open top thing. Went round all of like the we literally went round the Hollywood Hills and started looking at like, oh, that was Michael Jackson's house. Oh, Beyonce lives there. Like we did the whole touristy thing. And then that evening we went for an In-N-Out burger, which we don't have in the UK, so I wanted to check it out. And yeah, very tasty. But I actually I have some friends in LA, so I stayed one extra day, and I went to a buddy's place of mine near to Venice Beach, and stayed the night there and caught up with friends, and then sort of hung out in the Muscle Beach area and kind of saw all that stuff. Um, and just like he's a fitness trainer, and we kind of did a workout and all that good stuff. So yeah, we kind of lived the LA life for a day, and then I had to fly back to reality again back in the UK.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when you get down there, and it's interesting how when you hear people from the area talk, they describe everything as being so spread out, and to some extent it is. But like Beverly Hills and Hollywood are right next to each other,
Yeah.
and that was something I didn't realize the first time I went down there. I was like,
Mm.
oh wait, they're literally bordering. Half
Yeah.
the time I'm going in and out of those two towns, Hollywood and Beverly
Yeah.
Hills, and then to get to to get to the ocean, which, I mean, if you're going to come all the way to California, you need to see the beach.
Absolutely.
Really not that far.
Mm.
Uh, but I have not done the like convertible top down version. I need to do that next time.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, there was a lot of laughing and yeah, we were very overexcited. Um,
So I wanted to ask you something I hadn't really gotten to ask the other guys yet was we've seen the movie now, you know? So how has that resonated in your life, and did you start to have conversations with folks that like maybe it was a friend or a family member that was like, "Wait a minute, you're going to be Mekaneck," but then now they got to see you and stuff like that.
yeah.
How did that go? And
Yeah, I mean, lots of friends and family are just shouting, "Here's to Alan!" like quite a lot.
anyone tell you to
Um,
put your neck away?
so many people. In the UK, we have a phrase called "wind your neck in," which, if they did the UK dub version, maybe Idris could have gone "wind your neck in" instead, which essentially means like, stop being such a loudmouth. Um, but no, there's been um, so many people from my past and previous work I've done and coming up through um, different iterations of my career and even school. When I was a kid, all of my classmates knew that this is what I wanted to do, and that kind of like yeah, that kind of boyhood dream of just acting and kind of having that as my income sort of thing is it's nice to I was speaking to a guy, two guys actually, just the other day who I went to school with who were really really good blokes, and they just kind of messaged me on my private Facebook because they have it because everyone's had Facebook since I was 17. um and just like the lovely things that they were saying, and it wasn't like because they wanted anything. It was literally just to be like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, good for you, man. You always said you wanted to do this and you're doing it. So kudos to you, which is nice.
The movie's been out. Did you see it again at the London premiere?
I've seen it so many times now.
At this point, you've seen it a handful of times. I've seen it 3 times myself.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
and it's one of those movies where you do catch, like, the first run through, you get the story fine enough,
Mm.
but you do start to pick up, especially if you're a fan, on more of the kind of subtleties throughout the
And
movie
the
as
Easter
well.
eggs and all that fun stuff
Yeah.
that Travis kind of
Yeah.
sprinkled in.
All
Yeah,
over the place. You could tell this movie was made with love. Um,
yeah.
Something I have thought about, and I know you don't have an answer to this, but something I just kind of wanted to speculate on, partly a continuation of what we were talking about before, is where does this go from here, right? Now, Travis has said that the next movie will focus on She-Ra. He's said that in interviews, and if
Mm.
at this point the movie's been out in a few weeks, I think it's fair to say that there is some acknowledgement of that. Then people start speculating about, well, what's the third? We got to do a trilogy, so the third one might be about the Snake Men, maybe.
Mm.
But I always thought too, I'm like, this is an Amazon MGM production. I would love a mini series of origin stories.
Ah, I would love that too. I mean, yeah, we all know Mekaneck's origins. The fatal accident, man at arms, repairing him, but his neck was broken, so he had to give him an extendable neck, of course. Um, and the tragic backstory with his son, all that stuff. And I've said it before, but like the decisions I chose for the character were so kind of like peppy, upbeat, nonchalant, sort of like, of course I've got a extendable neck, why wouldn't I? And what I would love to explore with Mekaneck is how he became, such a positive force, how did he keep so positive and buoyant through all of this adversity? And it kind of explores the male mental health theme that we have with Masters of the Universe, in a positive way. So I think everybody, Johannes and playing Fisto, and John playing Ram Man. Even the bad guys like Spycore, James Apps, like he's got a crazy backstory with how Spycore became Spycore. He wasn't always that way. Like all of that sort of stuff, and Trapjaw as well. Like how did he get all these like mechanical features?
This is what I mean. There's such a rich backstory to literally every character that you could do some serious world building and kind of just add more anticipation to the second feature film. Like I feel like mini series, direct to Amazon streaming would be the appropriate. Like
Yeah,
obviously it would be cool to get tons and tons of movies, but I think getting things to market like in our lifetime, like you can only do so many movies. But
yeah,
like if you think of Star Wars, like we got 9 movies starting from before I was born to now.
yeah,
I don't want to wait that long for Masters, so I would love to
yeah.
see, some, and it's not to say that you do the Mekaneck backstory and then that's all we see of Mekaneck.
Mm,
Surely he has something to do with Ram Man, for example, coming onto the scene or whatever, right? Like you
yeah,
guys could be involved in a mini series that sort of brings these characters into the, Palace Guard. And then
yeah,
also to Snake Mountain. Like, I was talking to Kojo about this a little bit, I think offline. I would love to see his journey to Snake Mountain and,
yeah.
explore that a bit. So if Travis is listening, there you go. That's my idea. Let's do some backstories here.
Let's make it happen, Travis.
Yeah. On the Master's side, with the story that's being told in this one, you're supposed to have a big yellow club. Did you train with a like anything for that, with that kind of coming into
Yeah,
mind? Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I sort of I have this background with hand-to-hand combat and weapons combat and things like that. So you know, I know a lot of really, really talented swordsmiths out there, and sword wielders and stuff like that. So I would never say that that's kind of like one of my fortes, but I know my way around a sword. And so I was like sword and shield training, like kind of gladius style. And like the weight difference that I thought it might have with the club sort of thing, and like how I would whip that, and coming up with all these little flourishes and stuff like that. And then we get onto set, and they were like, "No, it's the neck. That's what we're focusing on." And I was like, "Well, that makes sense." And I know some of the fans would be like, "Well, Mekaneck's always had the big golden club and the shield."
yeah.
To which I say, "Yeah, it would have been really sick to have that."
Mix
But
it all up, right? Like
mix
get
it all
the
up, like we have such a finite time to demonstrate what these guys sort of powers are, to allow the story to kind of unfold and keep momentum. So if it becomes a little bit sort of misaligned with, okay, so he's got a club but he's also got a neck and he's got a shield and there's lots going on, I totally understand why they went for, okay, no, let's focus on the neck for this. That makes sense to me. And if this whole kind of universe does expand, there's no telling how these kind of weapons can unfold, and it's more Easter eggs in the future for the fans to enjoy.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
I feel like it's pretty inevitable. The movie, I'm sure is only getting positive reviews. I mean, like 9 out of 10 are overwhelmingly positive. And then you get somebody who just didn't get it every once in a while. And,
yeah,
I mean, fair enough. That's going to happen. Uh,
yeah,
but it's overwhelmingly popular, and I'm sure Mattel's pretty happy. They're selling a ton of toys. So the idea that they would just stop this train is inconceivable to me. But
yeah. Well, I hope you're right. It would be amazing to carry on this journey for sure.
yeah, I think it's got to be in the works. So then the other thing that we were talking about that I kind of wanted to fit into this conversation around, like, did you get to use a club or not or whatever? We were talking at the event, and I had asked you about your actual suit. And if I remember correctly, you said basically you had to like lean in with your shoulders because your head was maybe locked into a position, or do I have
Yeah.
the
So
yeah.
yeah, the Michael Keaton playing Batman back in the day, like 1989, and he had that really stiff cowl. Um, it was sort of similar to that because the when you're seeing Mekaneck on screen and the neck isn't extending up and down with CGI, that neck is actually filmed for real. So we really had that neck on my neck. Um, and as a result, because it was so complexly, designed, it didn't have much maneuverability. Um, so I would do the whole kind of like looking this way with my body, with the cowl, and little like that was one of the small things that you kind of like go, okay, what how can I move and how can I overcome this challenge sort of thing. And there was a big chess piece, the big sort of like red chess piece underlying the mechanics underneath. That would sort of like restrict a little bit of movement with crosses and hooks and stuff like that. So you just kind of twist your shoulders more, and it sort of informs the movement a little bit. Um, so all of these sort of speed bumps along the way, I would sort of think, okay, how can I make this work for me? How can I make this movement, more interesting? And it ended up just informing the character. Yeah.
Yeah, it naturally caused you to kind of use your neck in that way. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how that works out sometimes.
Yeah.
And how was it working with Ling Yang? Was
Oh,
he?
Liang. Oh,
Yeah,
amazing. Amazing. I'm a huge fan of his anyway.
yeah.
Before I got to work with him it was the first time I'd worked with him. And I was a fan of his from, you know, he's worked with Tom Cruise a bunch of times,
Hmm.
with the Mission Impossible fight, in the bathroom with Henry Cavill, when Henry
Yeah.
Cavill kind of like loads his arms.
Oh yeah.
That's Liang. That's Liang doing that fight. And
Yeah.
what's the film with Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise, and it's kind of like a
Oh
recycling day,
yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Live, die, repeat. I think it also has another name.
like Edge of
Let me look.
Tomorrow, something like that.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Liang was, heavily involved in that, so that was really cool. And then I got to meet him and work with him, and the way this guy moves, like he's a wushu master. So working with Liang was an education in and of itself. Like he would come in and say, "Brother, we want you to do this," da, 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 and then he would move, and it would be so fluid and graceful and like powerful. And I would go, okay, I would study him and see how he would move that way, and then I would try and just imitate what he did, and try and put it into my body. It never looked as good, but I learned a lot from him.
Well, I saw. I really hope. I know they're putting together the package for the physical release and
Mm.
everything. I did get to see some of the stuff that didn't make it, and there's some cool stuff with you guys in there, fight scene
No way.
wise.
I haven't even
Yeah.
seen that.
Okay. Yeah, I got to see some of that stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I know for just like time's sake and maybe pacing, some of the stuff just can't make it, but there is some good stuff in there,
Yeah.
particularly with the masters fighting. What one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall seeing Mekaneck at Snake Mountain in this movie. It's just
Mm.
at the palace and at Grey Skull. Is that correct?
That's right.
Did
Yeah.
you get to at least? I mean, the sets are all in the same area. Did you walk onto Snake Mountain at all while you were
Yeah. I,
just
I
there?
managed to have a little snoop around, and because we filmed at Sky Studios Elstree, and the lot isn't actually that big. I think there's like maybe 11 sets or something like that, and it's all within under sort of like a 2 kilometer sort of radius. So yeah, I mean, you can just sort of like have a little sneak in and have a look around, poke around, and see what's what. Um, I didn't take any photos, unfortunately, because I was being a good boy. But yeah, I got to see pretty much all the sets, which was great.
Yeah, it's fun because it was such a well done, practical set largely.
Yeah.
Obviously they did the backgrounds and all that stuff with green screen, but otherwise, I mean, you're the way they did things was just so cool. And for where you were, like building up the palace and all that stuff, it's always just astonishing to me that they can just put these things together. They look so real. Like they must have found a real place that looks like this, is what I'm always thinking. But
Right, right. Yeah, like I don't know what they use for references because it's so realistic. Even little things like the very end where we have like the big ha 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 laughing situation. When you kind of see that in the movie, obviously the far background stuff is sort of, CGI'd in, but you'd be surprised how intricately detailed everything is. Like, I don't think there's like a proper shot of the floor, but the mosaic that they had on the ground was absolutely incredible. I mean, they had like characters that were just kind of like Easter egged in. Like, I saw Stratos, like carved on the ground and all that sort of thing. And it was, yeah, just amazing attention to detail everywhere.
yeah, that actually, you just reminded me of a question. And I don't know if it's true in your case, but like Johannes, he's from Iceland, right?
Mm.
And he was, he was referring to Buzzoff as B-Man, right?
Right,
And
right.
I thought he was joking at first, like just sort of like making a joke about him, calling him but they actually have different names around the world. And,
Yeah.
they aren't all called the same thing. Some of the things that make sense in English just don't make sense in other languages and things like
Yeah.
this. Are they kind of one to one though between, at least as far as you know, between the US and the UK?
As far as I know, yeah. As far as I know. Funnily enough, I was in Germany last week and they were telling me about Mekaneck in the cassette version. So back in the day, they had like this cassette kind of like a radio play about all the masters, and they were saying how nobody liked Mekaneck in Germany because he was so cocky and like so they were like, we really love what you did with the character. Like, it was like a sort of like a different version of the Masters as what they would get on the cartoon. So I found that so funny. Yeah,
Yeah. No, Mekaneck is definitely one of the more fun characters, I would say, to play with as a child, as a toy. The original 80s one, you would rotate him. I couldn't find my original vintage one, but
yeah,
I have a couple of the newer ones, and you just kind of stack the neck together. But the original
yes,
one,
yeah,
you twist him, and his neck would pop up, and I mean that kind of stuff was just so cool when you're a kid.
yeah. I mean, it's
Anything that
literally
was,
like I don't know, like a lipstick or something like that. You would go
yeah,
up
yeah,
and
yeah,
down. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really cool. Yeah,
yeah. They were
it's so
very
intuitive as well.
creative.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much more expensive that must have been to create
Hmm.
that back in the day. So I
Just
get why they kind of do the blocks now. I guess like to for
yeah,
manufacturing, it must be much more cost effective.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them share the same kind of molds and things like that back even now and back then. But then you get
yeah,
a figure like yours or Trapjaw or something. It's like, well, they had to do just something totally different for this one,
yeah. I feel like the body mold for Mekaneck and He-Man was the same mold, and so was
Yeah,
Fisto. But then the mold that they have for Ran Man was completely different because
yeah,
it was more squat and kind of wider and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, so they would kind of like have these sort of fixes to kind of make manufacturing cheaper, right?
yeah. Well, I'm glad. I think most people watching this have probably seen the movie by now. I won't spoil anything, but what I am glad to see in this movie is that they honored the characters. They
Yeah,
didn't try to like explain away anything in a like, well, that wouldn't work for film. No, like Raman has springing legs. Mekaneck has a very 2000X winding and like unendingly long neck.
yeah,
And it was just cool to see that
yeah,
was honored.
yeah,
Who's going to see this movie is fans, right? And what made this franchise what it is exactly that. And they kept with it. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's definitely in good hands here.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Travis has said it many times. He grew up with these characters and he loves them. Um, so it's that's definitely the feeling we kind of felt on set. There was no stone left unturned with, you know, the capacity to get everything they could from these characters and make sure, you know, these characters were honored and the fans felt heard. That's definitely the impression I felt, for sure. Because even though Masters was before my time, I'm definitely a huge fan of other things like other IPs, and it makes a huge difference when these filmmakers actually, you know, honor the core material. You know, because there's a reason why it's so popular. There's a reason why thousands, millions of people across the world love this IP, no matter what it is. It's because of the memory and the nostalgia and, you know, like all that sort of stuff that kind of like resonates with them. And when you see it on screen and they make these decisions that are like, oh, why did they do that? Like, why did they make this character like that? Like, oh, you can understand why people get like up in arms about it. So I'm glad people are kind of like the feedback generally so far has been like, you know, you've really respected um, this this whole universe, which is great.
Yeah, and it's cool just to see people in their real colors and their real costumes and
Yeah.
as they're supposed to be. And they deliver on that in this, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah, it's
Uh
not like back in the day, like early 2000s X-Men, when they're like,
yeah.
what would you prefer, yellow spandex? And we're like,
Yeah.
yes, actually, we would love Wolverine in yellow spandex,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, and you know, if you get to like first class X-Men, you know, like they start to get a little more
Mhm.
authentic and it's like perfect. You know, you see Magneto with his proper outfit and
Yeah,
everything like that, and
yeah,
yeah, it's just it works on paper and it works on film. You know,
yeah. I guess
um,
X-Men First Class crawled so that Motu could run, you know,
there
and
you
we could
go.
like have that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like we've seen it before. Like the Donner Superman stuff was
Oh,
fantastic, and you know, then we kind of had a mixed bag of things in the 90s and then it was like yeah then in the 2000s we started to step into it but you're right like we some of
mm,
them crawled and later on especially with Marvel things really kicked off you know and just said you know
yeah.
what we're just going to do the original material so yeah I think we're all fair to say looking forward to seeing Mekaneck again and like either a well both a follow-up movie and in a mini series like origin story let's make that happen before we go though I wanted to check in on some other projects you're working on I noticed a couple one that's publicly known which is West Flies the Raven and that caught my eye because this is sort of set in I mean it's from what I can see, at least a sword, if not sword and sorcery kind of world,
Mm,
where there's like two would-be kings, I gather, that are kind
yeah.
of battling for their birthright, I suppose.
Where when I'm not entirely sure what's happening with that because we filmed the short, so we filmed like the concept of it, and it was like 20 minutes long. And the writer Ed Halstead, who's a fantastic writer, he his scripts were sort of like Shakespearean almost, and really kind of epic and world building and really nerdy stuff, but like in the coolest way. And Ross Siner, who was the director, we got together something really cool, and we now have the treatment for the feature, and that's kind of like in, you know, production hell right now, as most projects could do kind of go. But the short is done, and it went out to a bunch of film festivals, and it did really well, and all the rest of it. And so that has gained a lot of traction, and now they're going back, and they've written the feature, and it's going to be sprawling and epic, and kind of like almost Lord of the Rings esque. It's a sort of like an Elseworld sort of thing. It follows sort of Norse mythology, and you know, one of Odin's ravens kind of possesses one of the other brothers, and then there's this kind of like battle, and then the evil brother overthrows, and the other brother has to kind of like come back, and there's all these really cool epic characters that are in it, and it's a rush. It's so cool, and yeah, we're hopefully getting that made soon, but who knows when.
Well, it sounds freaking awesome. I mean, you sold me. I love the idea of, yeah, one of Odin's ravens, like having
Hmm.
some level of control over one of them. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm in. I'm in on that now. That now that you say that, and I like the whole kind of Shakespearean vibe of it and everything, like you're saying. So yeah, let's make that happen. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
So,
And I guess that makes sense. West flies the raven. So,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
and then I asked you, and it sounds like you're going on a little bit of a not a road trip, but a documentary
Hmm. Yeah.
filming in Mongolia. So, is there
Yes.
any? Can
Yeah.
you tease that? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, a production company I work with a lot called Sully and Cully Productions. They are sort of like putting all this on. A director, a close friend of mine called Paddy Cartwright is on the helm of this, and it's myself, Paddy, and a couple of other well-known sort of like motorcycle riders within that kind of like industry. We're all going out to Mongolia, and we're spending, a couple of weeks in the Mongolian plains, just like the wilderness, riding these Husqvarna 450s, which is sort of like these, like off-roading bikes, and where we're just going to be gunning it. We're going to be finding trouble and adventure and sleeping in traditional yurts and soaking in the culture and trying to do as many kind of like cool things as we can in this short time. And we're just going to be documenting the whole thing. um, yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that adventure. And this is sort of like the stuff that I do when I'm not on film. So, I love fitness, which is kind of applicable to my work. And I love travel and adventure, and in whatever form that comes in. So I love to ride motorcycles. I love water sports like jet skiing and wakeboarding and things like that, boat riding. So all of that sort of stuff is what I love to do. So introducing that to the wider public and documenting that sort of thing is probably what I'm going to continue doing. We already have a couple of other projects down in the pipeline in different countries doing similar sorts of vibes. But yeah, we're really excited about this being the kind of the launch pad for this sort of thing.
Yeah, that is really cool. How you just doing something like that can kind of shrink the size of the world, right? Like, because when you hear Mongolia, you have like some ideas in your mind about what it
Mhm.
might be like, but to kind of like join you on a motorcycle trip across the country, right? Experience the culture, sleep in the yurts, like not like high level it, but really experience it, gives us a way to kind of understand a side of the world that we don't get to see, unless you're there.
Yeah, and I'm a huge believer in kind of like experiencing real aspects of countries. So a bit of background on me, I've traveled a lot in my time. So I grew up in a small island called Jersey, Channel Islands, and I left Jersey when I was 16 to go study college, performing arts. But when I was 19, I didn't stop traveling at all until I was 32. So I've traveled to like 50 different countries, and for a lot of them I spent a lot of years there. So I've never been to Mongolia, but I was on the border. I was in North China for like a year and a half. And I love immersing myself in what is real about these countries, And so it kind of like makes me a little bit kind of, it gives me the ick when I go on like shorter stays and people want to go
Mm.
see some old building and take a photo of it, and then you're standing next to a bunch of other tourists who aren't from this country, and you're not seeing the real aspects of this country. You're not
You
kind of
just
like
kind of, yeah.
soaking it in properly. So yeah, like this sort of thing, meeting real people, like going, to bumfuck nowhere, and
Yeah.
visiting people who are living on the land, really experiencing things. I cannot wait for that. Like it kind of gives me a bit of an adrenaline rush just thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And that's awesome that you've had that opportunity to do that, right? I have to think that that's helped you too in some ways.
I
Like,
think
do you
so.
draw on that? Like some of those experiences where you're like, you know what, this character would probably live here if they were on
Yeah,
Earth or in this time or whatever, and
yeah.
just sort of pick up some of those subtleties from different culture.
So much about acting is seeing a perspective that isn't your own. You know, you see a script and you're like, okay, how has this person got this opinion? How have they been brought up to think in this way? And, you know, if you're sort of like a middle class white guy from, you know, London or whatever, your perspective on life is fairly pigeonholed. So the fact that I was able to go out and see different walks of life, different perspectives, different priorities, it definitely broadens your scope of human nature, really. And you gather a lot of patience for other people's perspectives. Um, and I think that definitely translates into my work as well.
That's awesome. I mean, like, how did Masters come along for you? Did somebody offer it to you, or did you seek it out, or a little bit of both?
It was a kind of a mystery audition. So
Okay.
it was the maybe the September of 2024, and I got asked to go along to an audition. I do, as well as acting, I do stunt work as well. So they told me to bring along my stunt bag, and it's going to be a really kind of like intensive call. It's just going to be you and one other guy in the room. So it's going to be 2 hours of you kind of like, I guess, battling it out with this other person. I didn't know if I was up against this guy or if we were going for different roles or whatever. So I meet Liang Yang and Andy Lister, two of the best guys to ever do it in the stunt industry. Um, I can't sing these guys' praises enough. They are absolutely incredible, not only performers, but also coordinators. So I walk into the room and it's these guys. And we have 2 hours of intense fight choreography, pad work, sword choreography, parkour. We're doing laser gun reactions. We're like, running at a ridiculous pace and like rugby tackling these punching bags, and then we did wire work where I was getting launched into the air, held on by a climbing suture vest, and getting launched into the air like 16, 17 feet, whatever, having to like land in the superhero pose. And then afterwards, we did the self tape with Andy, and the whole time it was me and this other guy who I was up against, and he was really good. Like he's like an ex-professional boxer, really tall, really built, really athletic, and he had a great look. And I was like, okay, I'm up against this guy clearly, so I'm gonna have to up my game. And we were so competitive with each other. And that
Yeah.
guy turned out to be Steph Denton, who played Mossman.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we both got cast. So something was happening in that room where we both sort of like brought it and brought the best out of each other. And now me and Steph obviously are fantastic, great friends. I'm actually seeing him next week, funny enough. We're going to go ride some cars. Um, yeah, 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 really fun. So that was the whole process, and then I didn't hear anything for 6 weeks, and I had no idea if I'd got it or not. And I kind of like pushed it to the back of my mind because that's what you have to do with auditions. Um, and so I just kind of forgot about it, and then I got the call, and I was like, "Holy wow! I guess okay, great, Mekaneck, awesome."
That did you know even then in into those 6 weeks that it had anything to do with Masters, or did they just say action movie or something like that?
Yeah, the initial kind of audition was that, but then I kind of got told in the audition what it was.
Oh,
Um,
okay, cool.
yeah, you know. So I knew what it was for, and I obviously knew what Masters of the Universe was. Like it's in the social zeitgeist. Everyone knows, something
Yeah.
about Masters, even if it's just like the funny meme. Um,
Yeah.
but
You know what's funny about that? I love Masters of the Universe. Have my whole life, right? I've got all the stuff. I've got the books and all the whole bit. And everyone kept talking about the funny meme, the Four Non Blondes meme. And I was like, what are they talking about? Because I had never seen it until this movie. And then I had to go seek it out and like find
No
the whole
way.
Adam laughing. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, is this what they're talking about? This is kind of a weird thing to have been so popular that everyone
Yeah,
knows it. But
yeah,
I didn't know about it. You know, like, how did I miss this? This, like, I guess culturally important meme. It's something that was funny was, I'm not sure if you're in this, but they redid it basically, and everyone starts dancing funny and stuff like that.
oh yeah, I'm in
Um,
it. Yeah,
you are in that one? Okay. I
yeah.
was wondering too when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. Did they really do this or is this some AI thing? You know, it's like, because
No, that was
it's
us.
pretty hysterical.
That
I
was
think I
that was
like.
all Cami. That was all Camila Mendez. That was her brainchild.
Really?
She
Okay.
yeah, yeah. She just in between takes, she'd be like, "Hey, can I steal you for a second?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, no worries." So we, and then by the end of the filming, she'd managed to get everybody. It was, she just knew that it was going to be this like big, big sort of viral hit that the Four Non
Yeah.
Blondes was going to be coming back with a
Yeah. Yeah.
vengeance. Yeah, so she
Yeah.
had
Well,
good
I'm
foresight for
glad
that.
she did that because I actually like that version. That like that one's genuinely funny because I like you guys are all standing there serious, and then all of a sudden you break into this like goofy dance. You know,
Yeah,
uh, it's just hysterical.
yeah, yeah.
Well, oh, before we go, I can't forget to ask you. We
Yes.
like to ask this question, and this is just meant to be fun. So, when
Okay,
you were
I'm
growing
ready.
up, you ready?
Hmm. Yeah.
When you were growing up, what was the first music album you ever got?
American Idiot, Green Day.
Really? How cool is
Yeah.
that?
Don't wanna be an American idiot. Dee. Yeah. Yeah, I knew all of the words to that album. I even I even attempted to learn When September Ends. Doom 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 on my guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good album. I mean, I remember when that came out. So, dang, I remember when the first Green Day, well, the second one, Dookie, came out. So,
Hmm.
good times,
Yeah.
yeah. So, did you listen to, like, was that kind of right in your genre? Was like kind of pop punk? Or were you
Yeah,
kind of,
sort of. I
oh,
mean, back in the day, my all-time favorites were Queen. I still love Queen to this day. And I guess back then it would have been Red Hot Chili Peppers as well. So that kind of boho vibe, that sort of like I don't know, like I guess it was like tinged with American culture back in the day. I mean, my parents they had me listening to like Frank Sinatra, Tom Jones, Elvis. So I knew all those guys, obviously. Nat King Cole and that sort of genre. So I love that as well. The Beatles. We had like a bunch of CDs of the Beatles at home. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That sort of thing. But the first one I ever bought for myself was Green Day, American Idiot.
yeah, what a great album. And Chili Peppers, too, around that time coming out with Californication. I think
Yeah,
that's got to be that's their, I don't know. Peppers fans will like debate this, but that's my favorite album from them. And
yeah,
I remember when Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out as well. And that
yeah.
obviously has some hits and stuff, but for me it's Californication.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like the sweet spot for me as well. It just again, it's nostalgia. It brings back all of these kind of like fun memories of summer times on the beach in Jersey and listening to those albums, sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all the time you took with us. And, we're going to have to do this again because I feel like there's a lot more to talk about. We could just keep going on and on, but
Yeah, dude.
we'll save that for the next one. And I'd love to hear about, or maybe even see along the way, if possible, some of that Mongolian trip. That
Oh
sounds
yeah, I'll,
amazing.
I'll keep you posted, man, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Well,
So,
Ryan, thank you so much. I really appreciated it, man.
likewise, my friend.